Hello, my name is Cornelia Bauer. Welcome to this presentation about the 100 schools of thought in the Warring States period. Because of a doctor's appointment, I couldn't hold this presentation on December the 13th in 2013 as originally planned, which is why I am now using this method of holding my presentation. Please excuse the horrible Chinese pronunciation of the narrating voice. I will first give you a short overview over the Warring States period, then over the 100 schools of thoughts, then introduce Confucianism, Legalism and Daoism, and finally come to the discussion questions and my sources. I hope you enjoy the presentation. The Warring States period. The Warring States were also called the Contending States, or, in Chinese, Zhangguo. Most scholars would date the period as lasting from 475 to 221 BC. In historical terms, it is the period that comes after the Spring and Autumn period. It describes the era in which 7 or more small Chinese kingdoms were competing for power. Eventually the Qin defeated all the other states and created the first unified Chinese empire. The Warring States period was, besides the fighting, a very fertile period with great influence on Chinese culture for the next thousands of years. For example, great philosophers such as Mencius or Xuanzi rose during this time. The period also marked the establishment of governmental structures and cultural patterns that characterize Chinese society until today. The 100 schools of thought took place during the Warring States period, with its beginnings already in the Spring and Autumn period. The term describes a struggle between different philosophical attitudes towards morality, the state and society. Followers of each philosophical attitude or school of thought tried to gain influence and following of their respective school. The most important schools of thought of that period include Confucianism, as represented for example by Mencius and Xuanzi. Legalism, represented by Shangliang and Confucianism. Daoism, represented by Laozi/Zhuangzi. Moism, represented by Mozi. Others include the school of Yinlang and logicians. I will now present the most important schools of thought to you. Also known as the School of Scholars, Confucianism is named after Confucius, who lived from 551 to 479 BC. Confucius developed a set of moral standards that each human should adhere to, always in regard to their position in society or family. These standards included what is translated as benevolence, righteousness, propriety, wisdom, and trustworthiness. These concepts can be difficult to grasp, so Confucius' followers collected a number of sayings from him in their Analects, where he applied these principles in a number of situations. People were also requested to live in harmony with each other. Other important representatives were Mencius 371 to 289 BC and Xuanzi 300 to 237 BC. Mencius and Xuanzi had very different, even opposing interpretations of Confucianism. Mencius tried to convince rulers to rule in accordance to moral standards to set a good example and to earn respect. He was convinced that people are inherently good. Xuanzi, on the other hand, was convinced that people are inherently selfish. He advocated to build up a country militarily and economically. Legalism. The main representative was Confucius, who died 233 BC. Legalists' main claim was that human nature is inherently selfish and that a strong state is needed to impose discipline to maintain social order. During the Han Dynasty, practical elements of Confucianism and legalism were synthesized to form the system of government. Daoism. Daoism's main representative was Laozi, a legendary figure who supposedly predates Confucius. Another important representative was Zhuangzi, who lived from 369 to 286 BC. Daoists tried to teach that human actions are not to be exaggerated as the universe and time is so much bigger than the human grasp of things. Thus the only way to make sense of your actions is to follow the way, or Dao, of nature rather than rigid moral rules that Confucianists or legalists proposed. Those were two questions that I wanted to discuss with you. Unfortunately, we didn't have the chance to, so I just included them here for you to think about if you want. Do you think that we still have a plurality of 100 schools of thought today? Do you think it was coincidental that the 100 schools of thought took place in the Warring States period? And these are my sources. Thank you very much for your attention.